Every few years, a headline comes along that sounds too simple to be true. The Trump Gold Card is one of them. It's being sold as the fastest, smoothest path to a US green card. Pay $1 million and you are in along with your family. But what this really reveals isn't just about immigration. It's about how access to countries is being monetized. Still till the end, because in global mobility, all that glitters is not gold. Welcome to Global Moves. This is where we decode global events, geopolitics, policy shifts, and translate them into clear decisions for your family, career, and capital. I'm Paresh Karia. I've spent over 20 years across global mobility, cross border wealth, banking, real estate, and compliance. And this channel cuts through hype because when serious money and family futures are involved, relying on headlines can be expensive. So let's start with the biggest misunderstanding. When people hear $1 million, they naturally assume it's an investment, money that comes back later. Now that's not true. Gold Card requires $1 million contribution or donation directly to the US government. It is not invested and it is not returnable. The money is gone. So before you dive in, ask yourself, is it worth $1 million? What's important here isn't the price tag. It's what this model tells us about how countries are monetizing access rather than integration. Next, most people assume that it's $1 million for the family. And here is where they get the shock of their life. The fine print and official announcements clearly indicate that it is $1 million per applicant and not per family. So if you are a family of 4, husband, wife, and 2 children, that's not 1 million. That's 4 million in total donation. That one detail alone changes the entire equation. Next myth. Many people assume that the process is simple. Donate $1 million and you are done. In reality, that's not even the starting point. The process begins with an online application and a non-refundable fee of $15,000 per applicant. Yes, per applicant and not per family. As you move, additional fees can apply depending on what is required at different stages. In fact, some reports suggest that total pre-donation costs could reach as high as $92,500 for a single applicant. And that's before the $1 million even comes into play. It's not $1 million and done. It's $1 million plus multiple layers of fees and add-ons. Myth 4. And here is where expectations crash into reality. There is a common belief that $1 million donation guarantees VIP treatment. Now, that's not how US immigration works. Even with the Gold Card, applicants must complete full source of funds documentation, proving the money is lawfully earned, properly documented, and clearly traceable. A donation to the government does not eliminate scrutiny. In fact, the source of funds process can be as rigorous as EB-5. Structured, detailed, and time-consuming. On top of that, applicants must still meet the standard US admissibility checks, the same baseline screening that applies across other immigration pathways. Paying $1 million doesn't buy you a shortcut. The scrutiny stays, especially on source of funds and admissibility. And this is the deal breaker for many Indians who believe that if I'm paying $1 million, surely I'm skipping the line. That's not how US immigration system works. Even under the Gold Card, green cards are processed through the existing employment-based categories such as EB-1 or EB-2. And for Indian origin applicants, those categories are already backlogged, meaning you still have to wait in the queue. Visa availability, not the amount you paid, continues to dictate the timelines. You can pay more to apply, but you can't pay to skip the system. Timeline still depends on visa availability. So here is the bottom line. The Gold Card is being presented as the ultimate pathway to US Green Card. But when you unpack it, it's a non-returnable donation for each family member with layers of fees, full source of fund scrutiny, and no guaranteed escape for visa backlogs for Indian applicants. Now compare that with EB-5. EB-5 is a structured, tested pathway. One $800,000 investment can cover you, your spouse, and children under 21. The process is well defined, the documentation is rigorous but predictable, and the capital is intended to be returned. Once you strip away the headline, the gold card isn't a shortcut. It's a monetization experiment, testing what people are willing to pay for permanent access to the United States. And even after $1 million, the real question doesn't disappear. The true total cost, how family members are treated, documentation and source of funds, the level of scrutiny, and the timeline reality. That's the real story here. Not just this one program, but the direction global mobility is headed. If you want more sharp, no hype breakdowns where policy meets capital and headline meets reality, subscribe to Global Moves.